Have you ever looked at your elderly loved one, maybe your mother, your father, or even a dear grandparent, and noticed something small? A little change. So small, in fact, that you shrugged it off. Maybe they weren't as hungry as usual. Maybe they seemed a bit quieter, or a little more tired than they used to be. You probably thought, it's just part of getting older. Nothing serious. But deep down, in the quiet moments, something in your heart whispered, what if it's more than that? You see, it's so easy to miss these signs because they creep in slowly, like a shadow at sunset. One day, they're laughing at your jokes, and the next, they seem a little distant. You tell yourself not to overthink it. You convince yourself it's just another ordinary day. But then time passes, and those tiny, overlooked moments suddenly start to make painful sense. And by the time they do, you can't help but wonder, could I have noticed sooner? Could I have done something different to make their final journey more comfortable? I'm going to tell you something from the heart. Those little signs, they matter. They matter more than we often realize. Because while they might seem harmless at first, they're often quiet signals that your loved one could be approaching their final year of life. Recognizing them early isn't about fear, it's about love. It's about giving yourself the chance to make sure your loved one's final chapter is filled with comfort, dignity, and the warmth of knowing they're not alone. It's about catching these subtle whispers before they turn into loud regrets. That's exactly why we're here today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 subtle but powerful warning signs that many people miss. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to watch for, and more importantly, how to respond with deep love, calm understanding, and the kind of care that truly matters in these precious moments. You'll feel more prepared. Not overwhelmed, not scared, but ready to embrace these moments with the compassion your loved one deserves. And before we dive in, I want you to take one small step with me. If you're here because you care, because you want to be a pillar of comfort for your loved ones, then type in the comments, I'm here. It's a small way of saying you're ready to learn, to prepare, and to love more deeply than ever. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe to Elder Mature Moments. Every single week, we bring you guidance to help you navigate this journey with strength, tenderness, and clarity. We're in this together. So let's get started. Now, let's begin with the very first sign you should never, ever overlook. Picture this for a moment. Imagine your grandfather, the man who once carried you on his back, the man who used to fix things around the house without breaking a sweat. Now, you notice he's struggling just to lift himself from his favorite chair. You watch him push with his hands on the armrests, his face tightening, his breath short. He pauses, gathers himself, and tries again, a little slower this time. You might think, well, he's getting older, isn't he? Maybe this is just the natural course of things. And you wouldn't be alone in thinking that. Many of us do. It feels like the logical explanation. After all, age does slow us down. But there's something deeper here, something quietly alarming beneath the surface. You see, as people grow older, it's true that muscle mass decreases. It's a natural part of aging. But when this loss is rapid, when it feels like their strength is vanishing before your eyes, it's often more than just the usual effects of time. A sharp decline like this could be your loved one's body signaling an underlying problem, organ failure, for instance, or the onset of certain cancers that silently eat away at their energy reserves. Or it could be advanced metabolic slowdown, where the body simply isn't processing nutrients the way it used to. Whatever the cause, this is not something to brush aside. But here's where it becomes even more concerning. Families, with the best of intentions, often misread this sign. They think, maybe he's just not hungry these days. Maybe he's just being picky. Or they tell themselves, it's probably just a normal part of getting old. I understand that line of thinking. Truly, I do. We want to believe it's nothing serious. We want to avoid the fear that creeps into our hearts when we admit something could be wrong. But ignoring these changes could sadly accelerate the decline, quietly, and sometimes irreversibly. So, what can you do, right now, today? The answer isn't to force large, heavy meals or push them beyond their comfort. In fact, that can backfire. Instead, think small but mighty. Offer them small portions of high-protein food spread throughout the day. Little things like yogurt, soft cheeses, eggs, or even protein shakes if they enjoy them. Hydration is just as important. Often, when appetite decreases, so does the desire to drink water. But fluids keep their body systems running as smoothly as possible. And don't hesitate to speak with their doctor or a nutritionist. Together, you can build a plan that fits their preferences while gently supporting their strength and energy levels. This isn't about forcing. It's about nurturing, helping them maintain their dignity while giving their body every chance to fight a little longer. Now, I know it's tough to see these changes, and even tougher to accept what they might mean. But remember, knowledge gives you power. The power to act, the power to care deeply, and the power to create comfort in times that matter most. But let's not stop here, because frailty isn't the only quiet signal you need to be aware of. There's another sign. One that sneaks up even more quietly, and if you're not paying close attention, you might miss it entirely. Let's talk about unexplained fatigue. The kind of deep, persistent tiredness that doesn't seem to lift, no matter how much rest they get. Now, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about something that often hides in plain sight, something that so many families miss until it feels almost too late. Picture this: your mother, once the heartbeat of every family gathering. She was the one who lit up the room, wasn't she? She had this way of making everyone laugh, making every guest feel special, even if they were just dropping by unannounced. But lately, you've noticed something, a quiet withdrawal. She's no longer rushing to set the table or telling her favorite stories. She skips her cherished TV shows, the ones she never used to miss. You find her spending longer hours in bed, resting more than she ever did before. At first, you might think, she's just a bit tired today. Maybe the weather's got her feeling down. And that makes sense, doesn't it? We all have those days. But when those days stretch into weeks, and then weeks into months, a soft alarm bell starts to ring in your mind. You can't help but wonder, is this more than just ordinary tiredness? The truth is, yes, it very well could be. You see, as we age, our organs naturally begin to slow down. The heart doesn't pump quite as efficiently. The lungs may not bring in oxygen the way they once did. And oxygen, as you know, is life. When oxygen delivery to the muscles and brain decreases, it's no surprise that your loved one feels exhausted, even after a full night's rest. This isn't about laziness. It's not emotional burnout. And it's definitely not just old age catching up with them in the usual way. What you're seeing might be your loved one's body quietly struggling to keep up with everyday demands. They may not have the words to explain it, but their actions speak volumes. They rest because even simple activities feel like climbing a steep hill. They withdraw because interacting feels like running a marathon on empty. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the most misunderstood signs. Families often think, maybe she's feeling a bit sad. Maybe she's just not in the mood lately. Or worse, they might get frustrated, saying things like, you just need to push yourself, get up, move around. But pushing too hard can actually make things worse. Because what your loved one needs most in these moments isn't pressure. It's understanding. So what can you do? How can you be the anchor they need? First, respect their pace. If they're tired, let them rest without guilt. But gently, lovingly, encourage short, manageable movements, like a brief walk to the porch or even stretching exercises while seated. Offer them soft, meaningful conversation. Don't bombard them with too many questions or demands, but let them feel your presence. Your presence alone can be a great comfort, more than words could ever express. And please, don't hesitate to get a proper medical checkup. Persistent fatigue can point to underlying conditions, heart issues, respiratory concerns, or other systemic problems that need professional attention. Early detection could make a world of difference in how you manage their comfort and well-being moving forward. And as you do all this, remember, you're not just caring for their body. You're nurturing their spirit. You're letting them know, in your quiet, patient way, that they are still valued, still loved, and never alone in this journey. But fatigue isn't the only sign whispering for your attention. There's another shift, one that often slips by even the most attentive family members. It's subtle at first, a momentary lapse, a forgotten appointment, a confused look in a familiar place. And while it's easy to dismiss these moments, they can signal something much deeper at play. Let's talk about changes in mental sharpness, and why this is one of the most important signs you need to watch for. Now, let's turn our attention to something even more delicate. Something that's easy to miss in the beginning, and so often brushed aside with nervous laughter or casual explanations. But deep down, you feel it. You just know something isn't quite right. Imagine this, you're chatting with your aunt, the one who never forgot anyone's birthday, the one who used to bake your favorite treats from memory, no recipe needed. Today, as you greet her, there's a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. She pauses, searching for your name. And for a moment, your heart skips a beat. Maybe you make a light joke to ease the tension. "Ah, I see you've got too many nephews to keep track of." You both laugh, but inside, there's a quiet, gnawing worry. Later, she takes a familiar walk through the neighborhood she's known for decades, yet, somehow, she stops. She looks around, confused. What was once second nature now feels like unfamiliar territory. And once again, you tell yourself, maybe she's just tired today. Maybe it's nothing. But that worry lingers. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. Memory loss, confusion, moments of disorientation, these are not just quirks of aging. These are signs that the brain is struggling. In the later stages of life, cognitive decline can speed up, especially if there are underlying health challenges. The brain, much like every other organ in the body, begins to slow its processes. Connections that once worked smoothly start to falter, leading to forgetfulness, confusion, and sometimes even fear in the person experiencing it. It's not their fault. And it's not something they can control. But it is something we, as loved ones, can recognize and respond to with care. Here's where families often misunderstand these moments. We tell ourselves it's just typical forgetfulness. We say things like, "It's just a senior moment," or, "That happens to all of us at some point." And while it's true that minor forgetfulness can be a normal part of aging, a sudden or rapid progression, especially when paired with disorientation, is a red flag. It's a quiet plea for attention, a sign that their brain may be facing greater challenges than we'd like to admit. So, what can you do to help? The first and most important thing is to keep their daily routine predictable and comforting. Familiarity is their anchor. Simple, steady schedules, like regular meal times, familiar faces, and gentle reminders of daily tasks, can ease their mind more than you can imagine. Consider using visual aids around the home, calendars, notes, labels on doors and cabinets. Not to overwhelm them, but to gently support their independence as long as possible. And above all else, practice patience. It's hard, I know. It's painful to repeat yourself, to see the same questions asked again and again. But remember, they're not doing it on purpose. This is a moment to lean into love. To be their steady ground when their mind feels like it's slipping away. And, of course, never hesitate to consult a specialist. A neurologist or geriatrician can help determine what's happening and what support options are available. Early intervention won't reverse everything, but it can provide comfort and clearer guidance on how to care for your loved one with compassion and grace. Now, as much as these cognitive changes can be worrying, there's another sign that often goes unnoticed: perhaps because it feels too ordinary, too subtle. But it can tell us more than we realize about what's happening inside the body. Let's talk about changes in breathing patterns. Yes, the way your loved one breathes might be quietly speaking volumes, if only we listen closely. There's a certain quiet that falls over the room when you first notice it. It usually happens in those peaceful moments. Maybe in the evening, when things have calmed down. You glance over at your father, resting in his chair, and something about the way he's breathing catches your attention. It feels off, different from before. His chest rises and falls unevenly. He takes a breath, then pauses, almost too long, before he draws in another, shallow gasp of air. You sit there, watching, your heart tightening in your chest. You tell yourself, maybe it's just the way he's sitting. Or, maybe it's just a little anxiety or something temporary. But deep down, a quiet voice whispers, something's not right. What you're noticing is more than just tired breathing. It's a change that often comes as the body starts to slow down, preparing for its final stages. You see, in these later chapters of life, breathing patterns can become irregular. One of the most common patterns you might notice is called Cheyne-Stokes respiration. It's a bit of a medical term, but what it really means is this. Their breathing becomes a cycle of shallow breaths, followed by pauses, then deeper, sometimes gasping breaths as the body tries to catch up. Why does this happen? The body is gently beginning to wind down. The brain, which normally controls the rhythm of breathing, starts to send signals that are less consistent. The muscles involved in breathing, already weakened with age and frailty, can no longer sustain the steady effort they once could. And so, the pattern shifts. The pauses become longer. The breaths become more labored. It's not their fault, and it's not something they can control. It's simply the body signaling that it's working harder than before just to keep going. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Many families see this and think, maybe they're just anxious. Or, maybe it's a chest infection or the weather playing tricks. These are natural thoughts to have because, let's be honest, nobody wants to think the end might be approaching. We want to believe it's something simple, something treatable. But assuming it's a minor illness when it's actually the body struggling to maintain its basic functions, that can mean missing an opportunity to provide the right kind of comfort and care. So, what can you do if you notice these changes? First and foremost, stay calm. I know it's easier said than done. Seeing a loved one breathe in this way can stir deep fear in your heart. But your calm presence is one of the greatest gifts you can offer in that moment. Help them find a comfortable, supported seating position. Propping them up with pillows can ease the effort of breathing. Ensure the room is peaceful. Quiet. Perhaps play some soft, familiar music in the background. Sometimes, even the sound of a gentle fan or the rustle of the curtains in the breeze can create a soothing atmosphere. Reach out to palliative care teams or medical professionals who specialize in end-of-life comfort. They have the experience and the compassion to guide you through these moments, offering both practical support and emotional reassurance. And perhaps most importantly, be present. Hold their hand. Let them feel your warmth and your love. Even if words fail you, your silent presence speaks volumes. Now, I know this isn't easy to hear. No one wants to think about these things, but knowing what to expect allows you to meet these moments with tenderness, instead of fear. And while this sign is deeply concerning, there is one more that touches not just the body, but the heart and spirit of your loved one. It's something that's hard to witness but so important to understand. It's a quiet retreat from the world, a gentle emotional detachment that many families mistake for moodiness or sadness. But it's much more than that. Let's talk about social withdrawal, and why it may be the final sign that your loved one is preparing to say goodbye. There's a particular kind of sadness that settles in when you notice this next change. It often sneaks up quietly, almost like a dimming of the light in your loved one's eyes. You see, your once sociable elder, maybe your father, your aunt, or that neighbor who always loved to chat, suddenly begins to pull away. They stop answering calls, avoid visits, and seem distant in a way that feels almost unfamiliar. You tell yourself, maybe they're just tired today. Maybe they need a bit of space. But as days turn into weeks, you can't help but feel a little ache inside your chest. It feels personal. It feels like they're shutting you out. And if you're honest, it stings. But here's something I want you to truly understand. It's not about you. This isn't rejection. It isn't anger. What you're seeing is a deeply natural, often misunderstood part of the final journey. In the advanced stages of life, as the body begins to slow, the mind and spirit also start to shift. It's almost as if they are preparing themselves quietly for the next chapter. They begin to let go of worldly attachments, not because they don't love you, not because they've stopped caring, but because their focus is turning inward. It's a coping mechanism. A way for the mind to soften the weight of life's final moments. Where once they found joy in long conversations and lively gatherings, they now find comfort in silence, in solitude, in simple moments of stillness. This withdrawal, as painful as it is to witness, is not something to fight against. And yet, I know how hard it can be. I know the questions that creep in. Did I do something wrong? Why are they pushing me away when I just want to help? But I want you to hear this with your whole heart. You haven't done anything wrong. This isn't about your relationship, and it's not about lost love. It's simply part of their natural way of easing the emotional weight of leaving this world behind. So, what can you do when you see this happening? The answer lies in gentle presence, not pressure. Sit with them, even in silence. Hold their hand if they're comfortable with it. Offer quiet companionship, without expectation for conversation or interaction. Sometimes, it's not your words they need, it's your presence. It's knowing that you're there, that you see them, that you honor their journey, no matter how quietly they're walking it. Reassure them with your words, softly and sincerely. Let them know that they are loved, that they are safe, and that it's okay to rest. These simple affirmations, even if they don't respond, can bring a deep sense of peace. And remember, this isn't about fixing them. It's about walking alongside them, respecting their pace, and offering love in the most unconditional form. I know this isn't easy. Watching someone you love begin to detach from the world feels like losing them before they're truly gone. But understanding this moment for what it is, a gentle retreat rather than a rejection, can bring you peace, too. And as we reflect on all these signs, you start to see the fuller picture. These moments, though subtle, are not random. They are powerful reminders of the natural journey every human being walks at the end of life. Let's take a moment together now, and reflect on the emotional weight of these realities, and more importantly, what they truly mean for you, and for the love you share with those you hold so dear. I know, my friend, I truly know, it's incredibly hard to witness these changes. Especially because they don't all arrive at once. No, they slip in quietly, over days, over weeks. So gradually that you almost don't realize the weight you're carrying until it's already heavy on your chest. You look at your loved one, this person who once seemed unstoppable, and you feel a kind of ache no words can really capture. It's that ache of watching time take its slow, steady steps. It's that ache of wanting to hold on tight, but knowing, deep down, you can't stop the river from flowing. But here's the truth I need you to hold close to your heart. Understanding these changes doesn't make you helpless. It makes you prepared. It helps you step into these moments not with fear, but with grace. Not with panic, but with compassion. Because when you recognize these signs for what they are, you're no longer caught off guard. You're not left wondering if you missed something. You're equipped with the quiet strength to walk this path with your loved one, hand in hand, no matter how uncertain the road ahead may feel. And in that preparation, there's an unexpected kind of beauty. Because instead of filling these precious days with worry, you fill them with presence. With warmth. With gentle care. Rather than rushing through moments or filling the silence with noise, you learn to embrace it. You listen a little closer. You notice the small things, a soft smile, a squeeze of the hand, a glance that says, "I know you're here." And sometimes, that's all they really need. Not solutions. Not complicated gestures. Just you. Your calm voice. Your patient presence. Your loving heart. So today, I want to gently encourage you, reach out to your elderly loved ones. Even if they seem withdrawn, even if they seem tired. Take a few quiet moments to sit with them. To hold their hand. To listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Ask them how they're feeling, yes, but more than that, just be there. Your presence alone carries more comfort than you can ever imagine. And as you do this, hold on to this truth, even in the final stages of life, there is still so much beauty to be found. Beauty in connection. Beauty in memory. Beauty in the simple act of loving without condition. Because no matter how fragile they become, no matter how softly they fade, your care and patience wrap around them like a warm blanket on a cold night. You create a space of peace. A space where love lingers, even as life gently ebbs away. And these moments, these tender, quiet moments, will stay with you forever. Long after they've said their final goodbye, your heart will carry the warmth of knowing, I was there. I loved them well. I gave them comfort when it mattered most. And really, what greater gift is there than that? So, let's just take a moment together and gently go over what we've shared today. To quickly recap, the 5 subtle signs we talked about are these. First, sudden weight loss or frailty, those quiet physical changes that may seem like ordinary aging, but often point to something deeper. Second, persistent fatigue and withdrawal, when your loved one no longer has the energy for things they once loved, or they begin to pull away from daily life. Third, we spoke about noticeable cognitive decline, the slips in memory, the confusion, the moments of disorientation that tell you their mind is struggling. Fourth, irregular breathing patterns, those labored breaths, the pauses, the signs that their body is quietly fighting harder than before. And fifth, emotional detachment and social withdrawal, when they start pulling back from the world, not because they've stopped caring, but because they're preparing themselves in the most natural, human way. Now, I want to hear from you. Yes, you. Have you noticed any of these signs in someone you love? Maybe it's something you've seen but didn't quite understand until today. Maybe you felt that worry in your heart, but you weren't sure what it meant. Please, share your experience in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and you never know, your story might be the one that helps someone else feel less alone in their journey. And if this video has brought you even a little bit of clarity, if it has helped you feel more prepared, more understanding, or even just a little more connected to your loved one, then please give it a like. It might seem like a small gesture, but it tells me, and tells the platform, that these conversations matter, and they deserve to reach more hearts like yours. And while you're here, I'd love for you to consider subscribing to Elder Mature Moments. Every single week, we're here, sharing insights, guidance, and support to help you care for your elderly loved ones with compassion, patience, and understanding. Because this journey, as tough as it can be, is never one you have to walk alone. Thank you, truly, for being part of this moment with me today. It means more than words can express. Stay strong. Stay compassionate. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, let's continue, together, to create comfort, dignity, and warmth for those we love most.